Hey everyone, this is my video quiz 2 and we're going to be covering chapters 4 through 7. For question 1, we were supposed to lay out the main ideas that stood out to us in each chapter. For chapter 4, the big idea that stood out to me and that I felt was most important was the ecocentrism, which is defined as some people are only interested in what affects them, and I think that's really important because sometimes we speak on things that only affect us, but that's ineffective to our audience because the same things that are important to us aren't important to them. And if you're not speaking to your audience members, then it's going to be an ineffective speech. For chapter 5, the main idea that stood out to me was one idea only. I personally have a tendency to kind of try to cram a bunch of ideas into one speech, and that kind of makes it cluttered and really hard to follow and get a point from. Chapter 6 is going to be laying out the speech. It really laid out like step by step how to do it, and instead of having scattered thoughts and just writing them down on paper, it really had like find your topic first and then lay down your main points, and really showed you how to organize it in a way that's understandable and effective in constructing a speech that's easy to follow. Chapter 7 is narrowing down keywords for searches. For my vaccine speech, I would type in like the MMR vaccine and I'd get a bunch of results, and while all the data was important, not all of it was relative to my speech. So having words that are key to what you're looking for really cuts down on research time and sorting through all the information that you don't need. So question 2, what did you learn that you didn't know? For chapter 4, I said mindfulness. If you're not mindful of your audience, then not every audience member is going to pick up on your speech or pay attention. And if you're trying to have max audience participation, then you have to be mindful. I feel like this is really important for all of us to know because we're not always mindful of what others may find important, and sometimes we are only speaking for ourselves rather than looking at every aspect of everybody in the audience and our environment in which we are giving the speech. For chapter 5, it was how to condense complex / pressurized topics, which are going to be your persuasive topics. So trying to convince your audience to do something, into a really narrow and focused idea rather than kind of being all over the place. It gave the idea of the water bottles and how the initial speech started out on recycle, save the earth, and a lot of other things, when she could have, or the speaker could have, broken it down into a focus topic, which would be why recycling plastic water bottles is important, or using reusable water bottles, instead of trying to shove them both into one speech. For chapter 6, it was the for yourself outline and then your audience outline. So for yourself outline, those are going to be ideas kind of jotted down in an organized fashion, and then the audience outline is going to be your expanded ideas, full thoughts, full sentences that are going to be used when you actually speak to an audience. For chapter 7, I have never heard of a card catalog, but apparently it is a very effective tool in finding different resources in a library. So I thought that was really interesting. I'm not a big library person, but I feel like that would be really useful for when I do go to the library to get resources and stuff for research papers and other upcoming speeches. Question 3 is going to be why these ideas are important. For chapter 4, I said if you don't consider the diversity of your audience, you're going to lose participation. And as a speaker, your goal is to have max participation and reach as many people as you can effectively. And if you don't consider what is important to your audience, you won't be an effective speaker. For chapter 5, I said you don't want to overwhelm your audience, and you don't want them leaving your speech wondering what the speech was supposed to be about. You want them to have a very clear and concise idea on what you were speaking about, and really allow them to form their opinions and make choices based off your speech without any question on what you were speaking about. For chapter 6, I said preparation is the way to success. It helps with delivery, and when you're confident in your delivery, your audience is much more likely to listen and really accept your ideas and to consider them, rather than someone who hasn't prepared and is just rambling. You'll lose audience members. They won't trust your ideas quite as much as somebody who's more confident in their work and their speech. For chapter 7, more effective and quick research. So instead of just Googling and typing in random words and sorting through information that you do or do not need, really having keywords that are effective for your topic and using those to search for the information that you're going to use is really important in cutting down that research time and allowing you more time to prep for the speech. For chapter 4, how can we use these ideas in our personal or professional life? For chapter 4, I said that I always try to be mindful of who my audience is. If I'm speaking to medical students or people who have medical background, then I'm more likely to use medical terminology, whereas if I'm talking to a patient or if I'm giving a speech regarding a medical topic, but my audience isn't medical oriented, then I really try to use language that they can understand and connect with, so that I don't lose them in all the big words that sometimes are used in medical world. For chapter 5, I had in my my informative speech, I wasn't focused on one aspect of vaccination and herd immunity. I was trying to be informative and teach really important topics, but I was also trying to persuade you to vaccinate your children, and I feel like if I would have just focused on the informing part, it would have been less cluttered and easier to follow and more straight to the point. For chapter 6, prepare. Procrastination is my weakness, but it also causes a lot of anxiety. So if I don't prepare adequately, I feel very anxious about giving my speech. I'm not confident, and I feel like the more confident I am, the better my speech is. So the more I prepare, just in general, the better that my speech goes. For chapter 7, less time gathering information. If I can cut down on the time of research, then I can increase the time that I'm spending practicing my speech, editing my speech, adding, taking away, really just making it as effective as possible. So for question 5, we covered chapter 9, which is delivery and using language. That chapter is over delivery, manner of delivering, and very importantly, body language, and how those are important to your speech and relaying it to your audience in an effective way. Chapter 10 was about visual aids, the effective versus ineffective visual aids, the types of visual aids that you can use for different kinds of speeches and different kinds of audiences, and also how to incorporate your visual aid in appropriate parts of your speech, rather than just having a visual aid and not really talking about it or incorporating it appropriately. And that is video quiz 2, and everybody have a good one.